Today's episode is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Hadoken debt. If you are really big into Star Wars and you have to have a Star Wars book that is part of the canon, then they have all those books on there. They have one that I'd recommend is The Catalyst. It's a Rogue One novel. It's actually a prequel to Rogue One, the movie that's coming out in December, and it's by a fantastic writer, James Luceno. He is so good with writing these Star Wars books. I've read a couple of his, and he's just fantastic. So go to audibletrial.com/Hadoken debt for your free trial and free audiobook. So I wonder what generation that would be. Grandparents.
Our grandparents?
Silent generation?
Yeah, that's the silent generation.
So that's the Great Depression.
No,
that's
born in the Great Depression.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the silent generation was born in the Great Depression and were not old enough to fight in World War II.
Okay.
If they were older than that and they were old enough to fight in World War II, then they're the greatest generation. And if they were born during or after World War II, they're baby boomers. And so the silent generation is that middle one. So
okay.
if you were in the greatest generation, most of them have already passed at this point. The silent generation would be coming up on like 95 to 75 or so.
Yeah.
So that range is the silent generation. So not old enough, not 17 yet when World War II started, kind of a thing.
Right.
So
yeah. So the article that was on the Art of Manliness is making our grandpa proud, and there are 4 principles that he talked about, and the first one was resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty awesome because we live in like a throwaway society now. You know, I mean, we just talked about shoes. I'm like, I'm not resoling these Nikes.
If I have a pair of shoes for more than a year, I'm like,
yeah,
wow, these have been a great pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And they stink, and I need to throw them away and go buy another pair.
Yeah. Whenever I don't need a new pair, whenever I'm done with a new pair, I just say, well, these are my grass cutting shoes now.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
same here.
on to the next Nike or Converse or whatever. Etnies. That's what I do.
Yeah, but the resourcefulness is just the using something up until there's nothing left of it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I think, for example, like with your Jeep, going to the junkyard and finding something.
Parts that are.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do that.
Yeah, instead of just going to, AutoZone or something.
Even if the part would only cost me like $40 or $50 new.
Yeah.
Go and pull it from a junkyard. As long as you have a junkyard that has those models.
Yeah.
And you're getting other parts while you're there. Like if I drove to Brandywine just to get a $15 part, it wouldn't make any sense at that point.
No.
It's up to reuse something that already exists.
Yeah.
Instead of buy it new. But you go up to the junkyard and I mean, you could build an entire car, probably, from all the different ones that they have there.
Yeah.
They had 42 Honda Accords between the years of 1996 and 2004, which is the range that our car model was in. 42.
Yeah.
And a lot of them had the exact same pieces stripped, because most people need headlights. So there were no headlights. There were no heater units, the control unit and stuff
windshield
like that.
wiper motor or something like that. Yeah.
So, but it was kind of cool to be up there and just be like, these cars are just sitting here, and unless I come and pull the parts from it, nothing's gonna happen to it. So when I was working on my Volkswagen Beetle, they always said in this book that I was going off of to rebuild the engine, it's always like, go to the junkyard and pull parts and everything like that. But that wasn't any use to me in the late 90s and the 2000s when I was building a Volkswagen Beetle, because those cars aren't in junkyards anymore. Those cars have already been pulled and recovered, and they're sitting in somebody's driveway typically. But the 3 cars that I have now, there were tons of them there. So a 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee, 98 Honda Accord, and a 96 Ford Ranger. There were like 7 Ford Rangers there that I could pull parts and seats and stuff from, and like 4 Jeep Grand Cherokees.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm finally in that perfect era where the cars that I drive are the cars that are in the junkyard.
Yeah.
It's like you're not going to find a 2012 Lincoln
Civic, yeah,
Navigator
yeah.
part in the junkyard, probably.
Right.
Or there might be one,
Yeah.
like in a year. But there are tons of them,
Mhm.
tons of these cars. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of resourcefulness that I liked that he mentioned in the article was trading with other people.
Huh.
And we've talked about that before on here, how nobody ever borrows or says, we all own our own riding lawnmowers.
Yeah.
We all own our own, whatever it is, power washers or, PSI pump, air compressors.
Okay, yeah.
So we just buy those things because I don't have one. Well, it's like your best friend would give it to you.
Yeah.
You only need it for 1 weekend out of the year. So.
Well, yeah, and I thought about that, and I think the reason for me why I don't do that on certain things is because, like, for example, the other day I cut my dog's hair, and I got one of those spinner filer things for his nails, and my neighbor
tool.
Yeah, my neighbor had one, so I borrowed it the first time, but then it's like I need it next month too. I just feel like I'd be annoying her if every month I'm like, hey, can I borrow it? Hey, can I borrow it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
I guess,
maybe something like a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I could see like 4 neighbors going in and buying a lawnmower together.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is we don't even talk to our neighbors.
No.
And so if I wanted to borrow something from you, it'd be like, when you come into La Plata next?
I know.
Or I'll have to drive down there and get it from you. And since we don't talk to our neighbors, and our friends live so far away from us, it's not
a whole
happen.
20 minutes.
I know. It's so far.
I know.
Not even 20 minutes of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But you see the Amish doing it like every day.
Right.
And they're on buggies and, carting back and forth things they probably borrow from each other.
And they have farms that multiple people live on, different sections and stuff like that, and they work together to take care of it. And
yeah, we just stick to ourselves.
Yep. Build a silo.
Yeah.
Build a wall around our property.
Yeah, I did have a
6-foot fence.
I did have a. Did you watch the debate?
No.
Okay. I watched a little bit on YouTube after the fact.
I thought about it, but I'm like, ugh.
Oop. Yeah.
Nothing that I wouldn't predict.
Yeah. I put up something. The funny part was I watched this one segment, and it was like Hillary was trying to be funny and make a joke, and nobody laughed. She was like, I feel like I'm going to be blamed for everything by the end of the night. And Trump was just like, why not? I thought that was funny. But anyway, where was I going?
I don't know. I was talking about building a wall around us and keeping our neighbors out.
Oh, I was going to say, when I moved into this house, I had a computer chair, and I put it on the back. My friend put it on the back of his truck, and I was like, I didn't want to be like kind of micromanaging him. I was like, you should probably strap that down because it's going to fall off. And then sure enough, it fell off. It broke, how these chairs have 5 legs. Yeah. One of the wheels broke off. So when you sit back, it would fall all the way back. So I just got some like this putty thing and put it on there and turned it so it was in front of me. So as long as I didn't lean on it on the back, it was fine. So I had that for like 2 years. And then one of my friends sat in it and didn't know. And he's like, whoa. So you kind of just make do with what you have until you get enough money to buy a new one or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely throw away a lot of stuff.
I think we're actually conditioned for that also because so many things, if you try to repair them, end up costing more than just buying it new.
Yes.
Because then you factor in the hourly rate of the person who's repairing it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you can buy a pair of shoes that last a year for $35, why would you buy a pair that need to be resold every few years for $100?
Right.
And the shoes themselves cost $300.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. Do I want to share this one?
Yes.
So our Accord burns oil or leaks off oil. And so we have to put a quart of oil in it probably about every other month or so. So every 5 or 6 weeks. Or it usually ends up being about every 400 or 500 miles. We have to put in a quart of oil. Yeah. And so I've checked with the mechanic about how much it would cost to fix it. And it's like a $1,200 or $1,500 find the leak and, fix it kind of a project. Yeah. And I'm like, $1,200 or $1,500 can buy a lot of quarts of oil.
Yeah.
And so that's, it's a 18-year-old vehicle.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's not worth repairing for $1,200. I probably could sell it today for $1,200 or $1,500.
Right.
I'm not going to put that much into it.
Yeah.
But I'll buy a I'll buy a box of oil at BJ's and we'll put a quart of oil in it every month.
Meanwhile, there's a big rainbow stain behind wherever Barrett drives.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to share it. I didn't want the Green Party to come after us. But.
Yeah. I see that a lot with like phones. Like we're just conditioned, like you got the cell phone company that's like every 2 years you get a new phone.
You have to replace your if you've waited 2 years, that's a long time.
And then Apple, Verizon, it's like they're working together to just put this idea in your head, like every 2 years.
Now I've seen it at 1 year.
Yeah.
And so you can redo it every year.
Yeah. And
then your phone breaks 6 or 7 months into it, and they're like, it'll cost you this much to replace, or we'll buy it from you for $50, and you can roll that into the purchase price of a new phone. It's like, oh, absolutely,
I'll do it. Trade-in value.
That sounds great.
There's always an asterisk by the trade-in value, up to $300.
Yep.
But it's never $300.
I think one of the biggest places, and this is obvious for our show because we've talked about it before, but one of the biggest places you can save money through resourcefulness is by buying used cars.
Yes.
Because a car is going to be probably the second biggest purchase of your life. And you're going to remake that purchase every 5 or 6 years or so.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to a friend who told me, he said, we've never bought a used car before.
He's never bought a
used car. He's always had a car payment. He's always bought brand new. And the thought of buying a used car terrifies him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? And he said, because he doesn't know the history of it. He doesn't know what repairs might be needed. And I'm like, well, you don't know what repairs will be needed for a new car either.
Right.
Within 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And is the cost of those repairs going to outweigh the savings that you get buying a used car? And that's what a lot of people are afraid of. And I think that's where we've lost our resourcefulness. If a car breaks, we're just like, this is terrible. We should go replace it. Or think that it's going to be like, let's say that a used car is $10,000 less than a brand new car of the exact same thing, maybe a few years older. $10,000 is a ton of repairs on a car.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot would have to go wrong with that thing to make up that $10,000 difference.
I put a Remand engine in my Civic for $4,000. Like, I probably could have bought a new car for that, but I was like, well, I know this is the problem.
Right.
And it's a new engine, so I could get 5 more years out of it, and I did. Yeah.
So an engine's going to be probably the most expensive repair you'll do on a car, unless you have to completely redo the body or something like that. And an engine will cost you $3,000 to $5,000. A transmission will cost you $2,000 to $4,000.
Yeah.
So that's $10,000. But it's like, because that car's 5 years old, do you really think you're going to have to replace the engine or the transmission in the next 5 years driving it?
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to an old coworker too, and she was like, yeah, I got to get my son a car, And I was like, oh, we talked about used cars. She's like, well, I don't know about them. They're going to break down every month. I'm like, what cars have you been driving? I got used cars too. They don't break down every month, Yeah.
It's like, you see me in here at work every single day.
Yeah. I'm driving a 2000 Camry.
Yeah.
It's 16 years old.
And now I'm in the beneficial place like you've been, where I have 3 cars.
Yeah.
So if one breaks down, I'm out of it for a week
while
it gets fixed.
Yeah.
And I've got another replacement.
And it doesn't slow you down. You don't have to play the trade cars with your wife.
I don't have to wait for the dealership to give me a rental or anything like that.
Yeah.
So resourcefulness. I think we could use more of that.
And then the second thing he pointed out was awareness.
Yeah.
And this one, he just basically, it was basically budgeting, you know. It was like, I keep a pocketbook in that's what my grandfather did. You know, I'm like, okay, that's my phone.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So.
That's mint.com for me.
He only used it in terms of the budget, and that's what I'm like, you wasted this entire point to talk about. I'm not going to hold a notebook and write down $5.99 for this purchase or something like that.
No.
But there could be other benefits that he could have talked about carrying around a notebook.
Yeah.
And I know Art of Manliness has done tons of blog posts about notebooks and stuff like that too. And they linked to them, so maybe they're just like, let's let somebody else talk about it. But yeah, that was the weird one.
Yeah.
The thing that I noticed is I do take notes on my phone, and I have Evernote, and I keep all my stuff in there. But where I would benefit from that is to go back and review that. And where I've found benefit in having a paper notebook is going back a year or two from now when I find it and say, what was I thinking back then? And flipping through it and reviewing it. And I don't ever do that with Evernote. Like, I don't even sort my notes anymore. I just take a picture of it and it disappears.
Yeah.
And I know it's there if I ever need it. But I never go back and say, like, okay, what happened during the month of September that I want to think through.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the benefit of paper and pen for me would be it's quick way to jot down, like, if I'm thinking about something, because if I try to do it in Evernote, then I go to Facebook first for some reason, and then I'm just like, oh, what am I doing here? Oh, I was trying to get onto Evernote. What was that? Why was I going into Evernote? You know, so it's just quicker sometimes for me just to.
Yeah, I have the widget on my home screen on my phone, and I can just push new note and swipe something on. So I do that, but like I said, I don't necessarily have a process built in to go back and review that.
Yeah.
So I'll put a note in there for a blog post idea, but unless I think I had a blog post, where was that? Evernote. I'm going to go look at it. Then I never see it again. So. But
it makes us feel like we're doing something important. We just put the note in there.
And when I've had notebooks in the past, like pocket notebooks, or when we were in the military, we carried around those green government issue notebooks and wrote stuff in them. There is something about like where I wrote it, how I dog-eared the page. You know, I was able to circle it or underline it, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was able to. I could store everything there, but I had a way of triaging it to see what was really important to remember later. So.
Did you see that commercial? I think it was like in the UK. It was the dad was like a stickler for no paper because his son was trying to print out something or type something, and he was like, no, just save it, you don't have to print it. And then his wife was doing something, and then at the end he was in the bathroom, and he's like running out of toilet paper, and then he's like, and she slides in an iPad with a picture of toilet paper.
It's funny.
Yeah. So number 3, and this one I'm very terrible at, negotiating. I'm so scared to negotiate.
Yeah.
Because it makes people feel uncomfortable. I tried doing it when we got Cody, and you could just tell, like, because he was like $600, which is already a good deal, but I was like, hey, can we get him for $500? You know, just a nice, solid number, I guess. And she was just like, no. And then you could tell she was a little, like, shaking a little bit, and I was too. And I could tell she was uncomfortable, so that made me uncomfortable. And I was just like, oh.
That's why negotiating's so effective.
I know.
Is because I liked from this is it said so many people will just walk away from something without countering, and the seller would rather have gotten a counter offer or heard some kind of negotiation there instead of you just walk away and say, well, it's not for us.
Yeah.
I mean, if 500 was all that you guys were going to do, she probably could sense that you were willing to pay 6, so she didn't need to budge on it. But if you guys had started to walk away from Cody with 500, she probably would have come back with something and said, well, I could let him go for 550 and we'll neuter him or something like that.
No, don't neuter him.
But that's where negotiation comes in is is it's a feedback technique. And so if I go to the store and I see something is overpriced, I just don't buy it. I walk out without buying it.
Yeah.
But if Target could have found out that I would have been willing to pay, 25 cents less for it and still buy it, then they've got the sale. Right now they're out $7 because they didn't price it at $6.75.
Yeah. But I think for retail it's hard to negotiate because they know somebody else is going to buy it for the price they're asking.
They don't, though.
Yeah.
Target doesn't know. The reason it's hard to negotiate in retail is because you're dealing with uneducated cashiers who are not trained in negotiation, do not know what the actual cost of that product is, aren't trained salespeople, don't know how to negotiate. So if you walked up to the cashier at Target and are like, I know you just rang this all up for $250, but I'm going to give you $225 for it. They'd just be like, no.
Yeah.
I don't even make that $25 difference.
Next.
But you deal with commissioned salespeople
Yeah.
who are trained in this kind of stuff. They're used to negotiating. And you walk into an appliance store and don't negotiate, you're losing money in that case. You're treating it like a retail environment when it's not supposed to be.
It reminds me of George Costanza when he went to the car dealership with Jerry, and he was like, they pressure you, walk, Jerry, you walk. And then one of the salesmen came up and said, hi guys, can I help you? We're walking.
Yep. So that's cultural for us. So groceries didn't always used to be that way. Before Macy's and before department stores opened up, it used to be a back and forth kind of a thing. So let's go back to the Wild Wild West where you would have a general store. You would walk in with your furs and you would negotiate on how much they're going to buy this stuff from you.
Yeah.
And then you would have store credit that you would use to buy stuff from them. And so it was much more bartering. You talk to people who go to third world countries. I'm talking like I'm a world traveler, but I've never been out of the United States. But you talk to people who go to Asia or Africa or something like that, and they're like, everybody barters.
Yeah. And it's my friend who's been overseas. He says that other countries, they actually get offended if you don't negotiate because it's just part of that community and that back and forth.
Hadoken!